What's up, everybody? It's Leo and Josh, man. Today, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite players in the draft, man. Someone I actually said that the Texans should look into a couple of months ago, right? Not patting myself on the back, but I did. Today, we're going to be talking about Jayden Higgins, 6'4", 215 plus pound receiver out of Iowa State, man. Pairing him with Nico Collins of a similar mold and build, man. Jayden Higgins does not move like a typical big body receiver. He has suddenness, he has fluidity, and man, he can just straight up route you up, man, and can play at every alignment on the field, X, Y, and Z, man. So Josh, bro, what do you think about Higgins, bro, to the Texans?
Yeah, man. You spoke it into existence, my man. And it's to quote the great philosopher Dennis Allen, they were who we thought they were. We thought this is what Nick Cassar would look for, kind of build on that kind of bully mentality across the time, across the offense. They talking about with the line. Now we have it at the receiver position as well. And when you see Jayden Higgins, he's possibly one of the, if not the most unique player in the entire draft, right? You don't find guys that are big like that can move like that. He's a big frame wide receiver, fluid mover who can challenge defenders and cut and coverage from all over with all types of routes, all types of tempos, all types of different kind of burst patterns. He's a guy that I think you look at it, he's defied every negative that has been put on him on the scouting report based off his draft process and how he's performed, right? The strengths were obvious, right? Great catch radius, no doubt. Long arms, get the ball wherever you throw it to him. Really good route running. We talked about the route running, the tempo, the burst, all that feeds into that, right? Then his football IQ and coverage recognition is the thing that we've seen grow and grow and grow from all the different offenses he's played in throughout his life, and all the different levels he's played at, right? And then you have the high level elite short area quickness for his size, and that's the thing that makes him a true unicorn, right? A joker in some sort. Some people will call it joker, right? He's an absolute just demon. And then you look at like, okay, what does he actually do wrong? Because there's a reason he fell to 40, and the only things that you can come up with, all right, well, the scouting report says on tape he doesn't have long speed. Dude ran a 4.4. All right, that's questionable, especially at 6'4", 4.4. I love it. Run blocking technique and targeting, his ability to attack in the run game, that can always improve. He's got the frame to do it. He can put on more muscle. He become more physical as that kind of player. And you already have Nico Collins over there, and you have a scheme that's kind of shifting. So I think he's plenty good enough for that to come in from day one. And then limited release package versus press coverage was the other thing you saw on tape. Guess what? He absolutely cooked everyone that lined up against him in the Senior Bowl, and he came out and absolutely balled out. So he really just pushed all that aside, and that's no longer a concern. So really from top to bottom, all the concerns that were really there that really pushed him, or even, I don't even know, there's great receivers every year that drop the second round, but the things that pushed him down the second round really for me aren't concerns. Both me and Leo had him as a first round level receiver. So I think, how do you think, Leo, that he's going to fit into the Texans moving forward, and how does he kind of make everyone around him better?
I mean, just the fact that he can win outside, it's the most valuable thing, of any player in the draft. All the time people talk about a lot of these slot guys that play that really don't have that much versatility. But when you have a guy that can play and win outside and doesn't have to be schemed open and doesn't have to necessarily prey on matchups, it opens up the game for the quarterback. It opens up game for all the other receivers, because now Nico Collins, man, this is the biggest, to me, outside of CJ Stroud. This was a Nico Collins pick to maximize his value. We're talking about a guy that has been elite at yak, elite in bubble screens and all type of screen passes, right? Man, you give him an opportunity to actually move more into the slot with a big physical outside receiver that can line up at the X position. You know, I mean, how many we're talking about a guy in Nico Collins that has had to work for his targets a solid, decent amount. I mean, we're talking about a guy that really wins down the field. And CJ Stroud, his rookie year especially, led the NFL in air yards, or was top 3 in the NFL in air yards per throw his rookie year. And Nico Collins was a big part of that. Now we talk about being able to possibly move him in the slot and just be able to give him 2 or 3, bubble screens a game, even more, with the guy that can legitimately win at the X position. And then what does that do for our other draft pick, Jalen Noel? What does that do for Christian Kirk? It puts him in situations that they really haven't been in. We saw a little bit of Christian Kirk last year with a guy like Brian Thomas, right? But we have at any given point when these guys go on the field, there are 3 really, really explosive passing options around Christian Kirk. You know what I mean? So to me, it's a perfect situation, and Jayden Higgins' skill set makes everybody better around him.
Yeah, man. Before he was in that Andre Johnson role where he had to kind of carry the offense on his back and everything was hard, everything was him kind of. I mean, Slowick did a good job of setting him up in situations, right? But it was just the talent around him. There's only so much you can do with him, and there's so many, especially with how they like to use their receivers in that 60-70% range of reps. I think they're going to even be able to lean into that harder and really get the most out and go pedal to the metal when the player's out there. But now he's switching from that Andre Johnson role of like that focal point. Now you get to move him over to that Puka kind of Cooper Kupp role, similar to what you've seen with the Rams with Caley and kind of how he's kind of adopted that. Those guys get really easy access looks. Like their hard work is done when the ball's in their hands after the catch. And that's where they get to funnel a lot of their energy and their ability to attack. And that's what makes Nico special. And the thing we really haven't gotten to see, especially this last year as much, was his ability after the catch. It seemed like everything was so hard for him to just catch this, contest the ball, and he was getting banged up here or banged up there, and it wasn't really getting the full experience like we did 2 years ago at times. And I think now moving forward, you get a situation where the versatility from Higgins, moving back to Higgins, the versatility of Higgins to play the X at any time of the game in any situation, whether it's on money downs on third down, where you can now move Nico inside, or whether it's in the red zone, you can line him up at the X and allow Nico to be that true joker weapon moving forward, and allows to kind of open up everything on the roster offensively and gives CJ Stroud zero excuses moving forward.
Yeah, and I think, and also zero excuses to the offensive coordinator. And, so that's to me what Higgins brings, and we haven't even talked about his yak ability. I think, is he as physical, as Nico Collins after the catch? I can't say that, because very few guys are. But I do think that, he is a big receiver. And, asking DBs, defensive backs in general, he's bigger than every DB he's pretty much going to see. Every corner he's going to see. We're talking about a guy that if, he gets a little quick hitch route or quick slant and a little, 190-pound DB is on his back, man, he might throw him off and gain another 20 yards. You know what I mean? So I think in every aspect of this game, Higgins is the perfect pick. It takes pressure off of Nico Collins. It's going to give him easy targets. And Nico has had some injury issues. Nico has pulled a hamstring pretty much every season he's been in, and we hope that he doesn't, but that's the facts. And I think that we talk about, throwing a rookie in at the X and just asking him to win at the line from the beginning of the season. I think this is a perfect situation to actually give him a lot of reps at the X early in his career and let him get used to it, because you're not going to have to bank on him winning outside on the line. You can, in a lot of the times when he's outside, you put Nico in the slot and you give CJ a quick option there, and you let him develop and, get NFL experience moving forward, so that in the event that Nico goes down, he's already been doing it. Maybe you change his role slightly. But again, I agree with you. The most important point of this is we talk about easy access and how much guys like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp have gotten like just really, really great easy targets, man. And another thing, also just look at how Demarcus Robinson was used in the Rams scheme. Not the most explosive guy, but won a lot downfield for them. They thought he was their best X receiver. And, maybe it's unfair because we haven't seen Higgins, but we have seen Nico Collins, right? And I could just imagine what Nico Collins would look with some of those looks like Demarcus Robinson got, man. So all in all, man, I'm elated by this pick. I think it was the right thing to do. You don't spend super high draft picks on guys that are not versatile. Guys that don't have the talent to win all over the field, unless these guys are just super, super specialists. And most of the time that they're not, you know what I mean? So to me, Higgins was the right pick, and it was a masterful play by Nick Caserio, man.
Yeah, and I think it's a huge point that needs to be made is that we've seen him do this over and over again throughout his career. He was a 2-star recruit. He didn't have any big offers, right? Went to Eastern Kentucky, had 1 year kind of wind up, second year tied for, I think it was tied for third or tied for top 15, I believe, in touchdown receptions. He went to Iowa State, right away became the dog, right away became the top dog right there. And he came in and was the number one receiver. and just dominated. Set a bowl record at Liberty, right? Climbing up the ranks. And then his last year, he was top 3 historically at Iowa State across the board through the stats. And we'll talk about it other times. We'll send out a lot of different tweets and posts about all the different records he's broken. But last point I really want to make is the effect that he's going to have on the rest of the roster, what Jayden Higgins will do. He will allow Dalton Schultz to now have more and more room to attack, right? The teams are going to be stretched more horizontally. It's going to open up the middle of the field for Schultz to attack. And also in the run game, I think you're going to see an uptick of what you see and the looks you see from Mixon, because teams are not going to be able to bring guys down consistently with having 2 guys on the outside that can attack. And that's not even mentioning adding the explosion. And we'll get into it with Jalen Knoll and Christian Kirk moving down the line, and we'll make videos for each of those guys on their own. But man, I couldn't be more excited moving forward of what they're going to do. And I think it was a masterful job of manipulating the board, picking up 2 third-round picks to move back, attacked it the way Nick Caley does. Hashtag fear the vest. Moving forward, I'm geeked for this season and seeing how Jayden Higgins can kind of explode with CJ Stroud.
Yeah, man. So, make sure y'all like, share, and sub, man. Peace, y'all.